Hey, what's up, everybody? Good morning, and welcome to the latest edition of the Real Stories of Success podcast with Ryan and Austin. I am Ryan Herget, sitting here with my good buddy, Austin Lahr. Austin, what is the good word today, man? What are you working on?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, we are just trying to get through this coronavirus thing, and you and I have had many conversations about it, and it's kind of interesting to see what people are doing out there to innovate, right? What are some of the things that you guys are doing on the realtor side, virtual open houses or whatnot? What's that look like that you guys are doing?
It's really a lot of that. I mean, it's really turned into leveraging technology in every way that we possibly can. I mean, using video. I bought a 360 camera the other day that I'm using right now, so I can Facebook live stream from a 360 camera, and it's finding new ways to get people through homes. That don't have the ability or really want to go out and explore those homes. We've got a few listings that are vacant, and those are certainly a lot easier to navigate through than when homes have children in them, et cetera. But nevertheless, what you just said, though, is finding new ways to innovate is what I love about what we're going through right now. I mean, through challenges always arise something better. And our guest today has a really, really cool story on that. And I'm super excited to dive into that. But that's really what I'm excited about right now. Real estate, as we talked before, it has not stopped. In fact, March numbers came out, and we had one of the best sales months in Indianapolis of all time, with the March numbers. And it's exciting to see. It's also scary. There's a lot of unknowns and uncertainties, but I think the positive outlook of that is there's going to be a lot of innovation. It's going to change the way we do business. And I think a lot of things are going to be done a little bit more efficiently because people are now being forced to leverage technology. So it's exciting. It's super exciting.
It is exciting. We'll all get through it, and there's going to be a whole lot more cool things on the other side of this that people are going to be using.
Without a doubt. So we have got a very, very awesome guest on with us today, one that is a strong mentor of mine throughout my entire real estate career, somebody that I've grown to respect a huge amount and worked with for a long time as well. So who are we talking to today, Austin?
Yeah, guys, so excited to have Steve Robbins with us today. Steve is the owner of Highgarden Real Estate, been in the business since 97. Like a lot of our guests, builder background, you're going to hear a lot of the same names. There's a common theme here. Highgarden's in 12 different markets, and these guys have over 700 agents, him and his business partners. So excited to dive into this today, Steve.
Thanks for having me on, guys. Really looking forward to it. It's quite a pleasure. I was telling you a little bit ago that I really enjoyed listening to Francis Williams on here, and we came from the same background, and of course, really you two also. We've all come from very similar places and worked together over the years, and it's exciting to be on with you.
So Steve, let's start at the very beginning. Let's hit the rewind button and go back to when you first got into this business, because when we were talking, you just brought up Francis Williams, and one of the things that she talked about on her podcast a few weeks ago was working for this builder called Crossman Communities. And she said something, it must have been something in the water there that just led to all of these salespeople having extraordinary careers 20 years later, that have done amazing things within the real estate industry. And quite frankly, I think you and your business partners really probably take the cake. You guys have accomplished some extraordinary feats over the last 20 years since you guys started your own company. But let's kind of start at the beginning, if you don't mind, and tell everybody how you got started in this business and what was that initial journey like that led you to ultimately starting Highgarden?
Yeah, well, I started with the builder and the mortgage end of the business, and that was the best education I possibly could have had. As you well know, what we ended up starting as a real estate company was very much based on selling financing and working with first-time buyers. So the mortgage piece was just absolutely huge. Phased that into sales, where I've met the business partners that I have today, and that's how and as it relates to what Francis was talking about with Crossman, it was just an amazing team of salespeople, very strong leadership, an amazing product. It got super competitive, and they were able to bring in some great people because everyone was doing well, making very good money, and they had a bunch of 20 and 30-year-olds that were just killing it. What ended up happening was we saw some agents out there that were focusing on selling new homes, and so we didn't quite blaze the trail, but I felt like we could maybe pave it with an opportunity to take what people were out there doing, which was essentially new home realtors, focusing on only selling new homes. And most of that was understanding mortgage financing. It was selling financing. It was what's my payment. And if you could help someone buy a home, and why not be a new home, keep their payment where they want it, then so that's how we started the company EasyStreet Realty that ended up turning into Highgarden Real Estate. And that's a whole evolution of itself that I'm sure we can get to. But that's the beginning of the story.
Yeah, I'll tell you, you actually led right into my question. I would love to hear that. As a business owner runner myself, I am so curious about how do you go from, Easy Street with a couple partners, right, to 12 different markets. I know that's a big question, but maybe, the cliff notes there on the beginning, kind of middle, and where you're at today.
Yeah. Well, EasyStreet Realty, in the beginning of it, we were directly marketing to renters. We were turning them into first-time homeowners. They were buying at communities like Crossman, CP Morgan, Arbor. I mean, all the first-time home buyer builders that were out there, and then some of the move-up stuff. And so we had a very small group. Everybody was doing extremely well. I mean, our business model has always been, we'll do the marketing, we'll provide the leads, the lead generation, we'll share those leads with the team. The whole concept was built out of what would it be like to work for a home builder and provide traffic for our agents the way that a builder provides traffic to the sales model for their salespeople. And so that historically, that has always been, whether it's EasyStreet in Indianapolis or Highgarden and Real Estate in Denver, that's always been really the core business model is we'll generate the leads, share the leads with the group, and help them achieve success or take off that much more quickly than they would be able to without our lead generation. Now that's really evolved over the years. We started in 2000 here in Indianapolis. In 2003, we opened up our first office in Las Vegas, Nevada, our first office outside of Indianapolis. Having worked with Ryan here, he was Ryan at one point was our top salesperson in Indianapolis, and at one point was our top salesperson in Las Vegas. So you have a wonderful co-host over there, Austin.
I know that for sure.
But, and we certainly love and miss him. But that being said, happy for everything that you guys got going on here. It's fantastic. How the evolution of our lead generation, how it's become not the thing, but a thing in our business model. I mean, that's, stories in and of themselves, but we changed in about 8 or 9 years ago now. It seems like yesterday, but we went into Phoenix. We were starting in a higher end part of the market, Scottsdale and Paradise Valley. And we didn't like the name really EasyStreet for working with high end. I mean, the connotation of easy, it very much felt right for when you're working with first-time credit challenge folks buying new homes, but it's not going to work so well when you're helping people buy $1 million homes in Scottsdale. So we rebranded and started the new brand Highgarden Real Estate, and we've retroactively come back to some of our markets and changed it from EasyStreet to Highgarden. We still have some markets out there operating today. They're actually still operating with the EasyStreet Realty name.
So, Steve, I want to circle back to something you said, a little bit ago, prior to this evolution. And I know something that, you helped me dramatically with many times in my sales career was the sales and understanding financing and understanding how to sell financing. And I think that that's something that, today's real estate agent maybe lacks a little bit is some general salesmanship, understanding how to ask questions, how to listen, and then also the ability to understand financing. And obviously, Austin knows your wife's in the mortgage business as well. I mean, you understand financing and always have from a very intimate level. How important is it in your mind for a real estate agent to connect some of those dots versus say, well, yeah, I'm going to just have my lender, my lender call you and let's see what we can do. How important has that been throughout your career and as you've coached and trained over 700 agents?
Yeah, well, I think that it comes down to what, as a realtor, as a real estate professional, is your value proposition, and you just better have a few things in the holster. And understanding mortgage financing can certainly be one of them, particularly if you're working with first-time buyers. If you're working with buyers at all, if you're focusing on listings, it's not quite as important. But I think it's like anything else. Anything that an agent takes the extra step to become an expert in is that much makes them that much more stronger with their buyers. But it doesn't really matter what your value proposition is, as long as you have one. And I cringe quite a bit when we have real estate agents that don't want to learn financing, because understanding that is just helping you get the buyer that much more comfortable with you as a professional. I mean, there's a lot of real estate agents out there that are calling up their mortgage loan officer and telling them, have you thought about this? Can you do that? And they're helping put the deal together. Austin, how often does that happen with you, where you have some realtors asking you those types of questions?
Yeah, all the time. We love those. We love those questions, right?
Yeah. So it's just one piece that can go a long way. It doesn't have to be the piece, but you have to have something that separates you from the rest of your competition.
Steve, I'm really interested. You kind of mentioned Phoenix and Las Vegas, and there's these 12 other markets. Like most companies, that they don't think that way. They don't think to go outside of Indianapolis. And what made you guys want to do that and be successful? And what is that growth strategy going forward?
Well, like I said, so we started in Indianapolis in 2000, and then we saw this business model that really worked, and it was us doing the marketing and sharing those leads. And it was a different world back then. The internet really didn't exist. When we first opened up, our leads were coming in, the leads we were generating through direct mail or newspaper leads or classified ads, they were coming via fax, literally. And so the world changed, and when the world changed, a lot changed with it. But in the beginning, it was very much of, like I said, that new home buyer sales. And we saw something that was really working in Indianapolis. We thought, what if we took the show on the road? And we could not have picked a more polar opposite real estate market in the entire probably world, Las Vegas, Nevada, because we learned a lot in a hurry. The market was going literally straight up. I mean, some interesting stories that, maybe we can talk about there, but what we learned was that our model works, and we could really do it in Las Vegas. We could do it in Indianapolis. We could do it in Duluth. I mean, it really doesn't matter where we do it. And that has evolved, though, and beginning in about 05, and where we were a little bit ahead of the curve, and it really helped us grow, was leveraging the internet. And so we were way ahead of the curve on using Google to generate traffic and leads. Now, a big thing happened when we did that. Our leads went from this narrow new home, oftentimes first time buyer, to literally everybody, not buyers, but buyers and sellers, not first time buyers, but retirees, second home. And that it didn't matter. They were all coming and using our website as a search portal, the way Zillow or other, Redfin, or you name the bigger real estate company that's essentially a search portal. That's what essentially they were doing with us. We're generating these leads, we're sharing them with the group. It changed everything, because the sales cycle with internet leads is a lot different than someone calling up and saying, hey, I want this house for $982 a month.
Absolutely. But, one of the things, Steve, and, just kind of sharing a thought, I was actually having this conversation with another real estate agent the other day, and, and I never said this way before, but, there's a lot of different models of real estate, but, what you guys created 20 years ago was really this massive, real estate team, if you will, where then you've been able to expand into multiple markets. Keller Williams calls that expansion model, and they started doing that 10 years ago, whereas you guys started doing it 20 years ago. And one of the other things that I really, really love about Highgarden story is how forward thinking the company is. I mean, you guys, the three partners there, and obviously there's a lot of other great supporting characters within the company, but you guys have always been way ahead of the curve when it comes to technology. And I'm going to give everybody an example of that. But you mentioned to it that in 2005, you guys really leaned heavily into using Google AdWords, search engine optimization, and, seeing the inner workings of what happens behind the scenes at Highgarden is really impressive. You guys have really a good team of people that have come together to really leverage technology to move real estate forward. And truly, you guys were one of the very first ones. In fact, I was telling the story how you guys figured out how to use SEO to capture addresses. And when the iPhone came out, instead of calling yard signs, people started Googling the yard sign, and you guys were able to generate a lot of leads in very innovative ways. And that's one of the things I really, really love about what you guys have been able to accomplish over the years is it's innovating, it's leading the trend. And then in essence, you guys have built a massive brokerage of over 700 people now in 12 different cities. It's really, really cool. But you also talked about something that a lot of people don't experience, and that's the challenges of growth like that. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit and peel that back. You mentioned that going into Las Vegas, it was a polar opposite of Indianapolis. And I know you're in markets like Florida and the Carolinas as well. So tell us about some of the challenges that you guys have kind of experienced throughout the years as you've experienced some pretty rapid growth there.
Well, the biggest challenge that comes to mind outside of what we're living through right now, which probably talk about that too, but so we had grown into Tampa, Las Vegas, and Charlotte and Twin Cities by '08. And we were living pretty good. Things were looking very good in all those markets. Real estate had really been on fire, an unprecedented run for a decade. And then the Great Recession hit, and we were at the epicenter of that in Las Vegas and Florida. We weren't in California at the time, but that was very difficult to get through. If you were a real estate company and you survived that, particularly as an independent brokerage, I'm not sure if you were lucky or good or both, because you kind of had to be. And that changed the world. It changed real estate as we know it, and it's maybe prepared us a little bit for what we're going through right now with COVID-19. But it was batten down the hatches. It was limit expenses as much as you can, but we had to keep marketing. Having the right leadership in these markets has always been, probably the most important thing. We had some leadership changes in each of those markets. So it was a matter of survival for essentially a 3-year period. And then somehow we emerged and we were able to keep on going. And that's when we went from essentially 5 markets over time to about 12 today. And it was just really a story of perseverance and putting one foot in front of the other and generating enough leads that we still had a value proposition to agents. And that was actually, we ended up hiring here in Indianapolis. It was really interesting. We went through a phase where it seemed like almost every person we hired in Indianapolis as an agent was someone who had been their own independent broker, like a one-man shop. And so that was just how hard it was to keep going during that time. Our top agent, I think, in Indianapolis had like 20 some sales in 2010 or 2011. I mean, it was slow. So that's the challenge that I'll probably never forget, because we were struggling to make it. It was one day at a time, literally.
And we're living through a challenge right now, maybe not the same type of challenge, but there's definitely some parallels here. And with you guys being so tech heavy, what are some of the things that you guys are doing over at Highgarden to kind of combat people not being able to leave their house necessarily, or having to do more Zoom calls or whatever? What are some of the tech things that you guys are using right now, employing to get us through this?
I mean, easily the biggest silver lining of all this for our organization, and probably several, has been the connectivity we've had with Zoom meetings. There's probably people that, we're spread out all over the country, and there's probably people that really never felt like they were part of anything bigger until this kind of came along. We're doing every market that we're in, all 12 markets, is doing a roundtable discussion weekly that all the other agents from the other 11 markets are invited to join. That's been amazing for everyone to feel plugged into something bigger. We're doing 2 national Zoom calls a week. I know this isn't an advertisement for Zoom, but hey, what the heck? I mean,
we all wish we would have bought stock, right?
I know. And my favorite COVID-19 story out of all this is the fact that they ran up the stock on a over-the-counter penny stock 1,600%, buying Zoom Technologies, which isn't Zoom video. Have you guys heard about this?
No.
So yeah, they for 2 weeks, people were buying the wrong Zoom. And at any rate, that's been a huge silver lining for us. And it's been amazing just to have this open up with communication and connectivity across the country. And even within individual markets, they're having sales meetings and getting together more often than they were physically. So it's right now, though, it's reaching out. I mean, most all of us have heard all the advice on what you're supposed to do at this point, as far as reaching out and caring. And that is so true. But, what kind of content? I think the other thing, Austin, from a technology standpoint, that it's giving people, most people have a lot of extra time on their hands. What are they doing with that time? As a real estate agent, if you haven't become more adept at social media, this is the exact time to do it. That's certainly something we're promoting within our organization, that everyone upping their social media game. It's already something we've been focused on for the last couple of years, but it's something that if you do it right, you can do it very inexpensively and very effectively. So social media is the other part that I think this has given us enough time and breath to maybe slow down and look at how we're going to operate in the 21st century here and moving forward.
Yeah, I think that's awesome because, so many of your agents have done an incredible job of leveraging that technology and really, upping their game as well, the game, not their game, but the game, when it comes to social media. We had Laura Waters and Leighton Wellbaum on actually our first episode of season 2 here. And, they were talking about how doing that consistently has really helped fuel their momentum as they've both, they've just had an incredible last 2 years working together. And it's been a really, really neat story. And I can tell, there's a lot of people at Highgarden that I follow, and yeah, you guys have absolutely upped the game in that. And I know that, one of the reasons for that is, you guys have brought in some key people. You've made some really key hires when it comes to doing that. Tell me about the team building process. You guys have always done a really good job of, putting good people around you and, helping drive things forward. Tell us about that. What do you guys look for when you hire key people to bring them into the company? Because that type of growth does not happen without good people.
Yeah, that's a great question, because I think it really is the key to any organization's success is what people do you have on the bus. Ryan, you and I have talked about having the right people on the bus for years. Mm-hmm. We've been fortunate over the years to have a bunch of wonderful people on the team and people we've grown with and learned from. Whether in Indianapolis or all the markets over the last number of years, we've just made some really good hires that have made all the difference in the world. Specialists in social media, specialists in promotion, and my business partners, Chris Kupelhan and Brian Hawley. How we've evolved with what our roles are. And for me personally, I would say the most important role I have is trying to find the right people and making sure that, our team is as strong as it can be. The industry is changing. It's changing rapidly. If we have always taken pride in being an organization that is ahead of the curve. Right now, I think maybe social media is a place where people aren't fully leveraging it. But some of the greater agents are, some of the best agents are. And so, how we can grow in that particular arena, I think is going to be really important. Internet leads and what has been the core of our business over the years has become a bit of a commodity. Everybody has them. Most people are getting them relatively cheap. So while it's important that we have still that as a piece, at least within our business model, we need to let our agents fend for themselves and grow a little bit and generate their own opportunities, do their own. A big change with us is over the years, we were never branded. Our agents weren't really out there branding themselves because we were providing everything. And it's kind of the old give them a fish versus teaching them to fish type mentality. And we've been doing a lot more of teaching people how to fish.
I love that. And I think that's huge to, agents' growth is, getting started. You guys provide so many great opportunities and wonderful opportunities for people to get their business off the ground. And, over the last 5-6 years, I think that's really evolved, as you said, where that's not the main value prop anymore. It's an investment in the agents. It's an investment in helping people do things better and, leverage their strengths. And I think that's one of the things you guys have obviously done really, really well. You've got a lot of agents here in Indianapolis that have, put up huge numbers in the last few years. And that's exciting to see. So
what I think is interesting is that, and we went from being a place where it was a good place to start your career. And because we provided leads, we help you get off the ground. So many new licensees fail. And that's just not going to change because it's a tough business. You really don't know what you're getting into until you get into it. And we gave them probably the best opportunity to get over the hump, but it's still a hard hump to get over. That being said, in Indianapolis, we kind of have a rule, and the rule is we don't hire new licensees anymore unless we're going to make an exception to that rule. And I really don't want to make an exception to that rule unless they're exceptional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Steve, as we start to wrap up here, if someone wants to get a hold of you or kind of look up Highgarden, what are some of the best ways? And for those that are watching this, we'll put this up on the screen as well. But what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Well, you can always email me at steve@highgarden.com if you're interested in talking about working at Highgarden, or if you just want to talk about the industry. But we're on Instagram, Highgarden Real Estate. Of course, our website, which is really the heartbeat of our entire lead generation. And it's a portal, like I said, just like Zillow, it's highgarden.com. And, those are the best ways.
Cool. Well, Steve, we beyond appreciate taking a few minutes out of your busy morning to hop on the podcast with us and share a little bit of Highgarden story. And I would encourage everybody, if you've got questions, definitely reach out to Steve. He would be more than happy to help and talk to you in any way he can. And of course, same goes for Austin and I. If there's anything that we can do for you, please feel free to reach out to us, like, comment, subscribe, ask us some questions, hit the notification button on YouTube there, and definitely reach out any way we can. Again, that's our mission with this podcast, is to provide practical, actionable insights so people can leverage their careers and take them to new heights. So, Steve, anything else as we kind of wrap up here that would be important for people to know about what you guys are working on moving forward, Highgarden in general, as we wrap the show up today?
Well, right now, it's really, the entire world is in the middle of what the pandemic is giving us. And so, it's back to making sure no one knows how long this is going to last. And there's really no way to answer that question other than we're just going to have to see how, we can evolve to fight through this. I feel like I agree with what you said, Ryan, at the very top, is just how much that this is going to expedite the change that we're living through. Mm-hmm. It's going to facilitate digital. It's going to facilitate the virtual aspect of business. And, we're prepared for that over here. I know you guys are with what you're doing. And man, I just can't tell you enough how much I respect what you guys are doing with the podcast, what you're doing with your business. It's been fantastic to see, and couldn't be happier for you guys.
Well, we definitely appreciate it, Steve. Thanks again. And for this edition of the Real Stories of Success, I'm Ryan Herget, sitting here with Austin Lahr. Thanks so much, everybody.
Yeah, stay safe, guys.